Farrell Cooper had the
Farrell
opening,
Cooper.
He had the opening 103-yard kickoff return, and
also Sammy Watkins is who I was about to say.
well, you also got Tavon Austin too.
And Tavon Austin as well.
But Leonard Fournette, you got to give him 75-yard rushing touchdown. He had 130 yards on 21 carries in this game. 7 touchdowns already on the year. He should be in consideration for the AFC Rookie of the Year, along with Kareem Hunt and Deshaun Watson. These are probably the 3 best rookies. Probably the most sensational players.
I'm starting to think maybe the Jaguars might have gotten the franchise player that they have been looking for
Since MD Day.
Yeah, since Maurice Jones-Drew, because Leonard Fournette, I always saw that he had superstar potential. Now he's given the Jaguars a little bit of an identity for the future. Forget Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles is beyond help right now.
He's the reason why they lost. He fumbles, then he throws an interception that costs him the chance to tie the game. And then after the interception, Greg Zuerlein seals the game with a field goal from 29 yards out with 2:32 remaining. And that's why.
And after that game, there were Eli Manning to the Jaguars rumors, mostly because of Eli's connection with Tom Coughlin,
who's in the front office this year with the Jaguars. And you know what? It just kills me. They have not won consistent games, and they've lost 9 out of the last 10 out of Everbank Field. The only good thing about that place is the infinity pool on each sideline this game.
Yeah. And the fact that they have the Gator Bowl there and the Georgia versus Florida game there.
Which is coming up in a few weeks. You know what they call that? The world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Yeah.
I would love to be at that game. I know you would too.
Yeah, I really would. Georgia versus Florida, one of the best rivalries in college football.
And now, how about this? The 49ers Redskins, former offense coordinator Kyle Shanahan and former receiver Pierre Garçon go back to Landover to play the Redskins. And Kirk Cousins throws 2 touchdowns, runs for a score, but he had a completely inaccurate day, 25-37 passes for 330 yards. But even worse, Brian Hoyer got benched. This is how bad things were for Brian Hoyer. 4 of 11 for 34 yards, and they brought in C.J. Beathard. And if that name is familiar to you folks, you know, he was a former the grandson former Redskins GM Bobby Beathard, if that's a familiar name to you guys for Redskin fans. And they were down 14-0 at the time and nearly brought them within a few yards. Unfortunately, he threw an interception.
Quite frankly, that game should not have been as close as it was in the end. The Redskins are 10 times better than the 49ers. It just so happened that the 49ers played them tough, which meant the Redskins played down to the level of their competition. That happens all the time in this game.
But Carlos Hyde, 2 rushing touchdowns, helping them as well, who's a great running back. I really feel bad. Carlos Hyde, since he came out of Ohio State, has done a lot for that 49ers team. Very little provided to him. But I think C.J. Beathard, I always knew that they should have brought him in at some point instead of benching him. Now, to the local New York teams, the Jets lose 24-17 to the New England Patriots, even after having a 14-0 lead. And I was actually at the game with my mom. Last-minute tickets provided by my very good friends, Lloyd and Alberta Thompson of the Little Victory Theater. Thank you so much for those tickets, by the way. Such kind, sweet people. And I got to go to the game with my mom. It was just a really enjoyable time. And what I really enjoyed about being there, of course, it's just being with my mother and watching these games. What I didn't enjoy was the fact they had a 14-0 lead. Even after my favorite was the touch on the Jeremy Curley over the shoulder, and he just hops into the end zone.
Yeah, and then what happens? The Patriots get one of their own featuring Tom Brady throwing to Rob Gronkowski, also doing a hop and a skip into the end zone. But the
Gronk spike.
And the Gronk spike. But at the same time, the turning point was, number one, the Jets turning the ball over at the most inopportune of times. And second, having a touchdown, which, quite frankly, was a touchdown, unfairly taken away from them on probably the single most bogus call that could have been made thanks to replay. And that's when Austin Safarian-Jenkins caught what should have been a touchdown, and all because he momentarily double-clutched the ball. It wasn't even a bobble. It was a double clutch in his left arm.
The ball never even touched the ground.
Before he wound up crossing the end zone, and for some reason, they went to replay. Of course, they're supposed to go to replay, after every scoring play, but then they decide to overturn the call?
Well, first off, the new system they have in place is they don't go into the booth anymore. What they have is they have New York that makes all the decisions on Park Avenue, which is the headquarters of the NFL. So what they do for every game is they have the headphones right there, like they do in Major League Baseball when they have the headphones for the umpires when they have any challenges. So New York looks at all plays, every play, just like Ottawa does for the NHL, and they tell the referees or umpires at that point what is to happen, and they follow New York's ruling. So New York decided to go against New York in this situation and not call it a touchdown. And at the time, it was 24-14.
Mm-hmm.
Had the touchdown counted, along
It
with
would
the
have been
field
24-21.
Yeah, but then with that field goal later, I think they could have had an overtime game. But
who knows what would have happened in overtime, but at least it would have gone to overtime. To be quite frankly with you, I don't know how the league offices can justify defending this call. That was a touchdown, 100%. And even a guy who used to be the senior vice president of officiating of the league admitted the league goofed on this call here. The Jets, quite frankly, could be 4-2.
And not only that, I even heard somebody from the Patriots radio even say that this was a bogus call, didn't agree with the league on this one. You can look at this 10, 20 times and still say that Austin Seferian-Jenkins had a touch. And by the way, he had a career-high 8 catches yesterday. It was one of his best performances. The fact that he had a touchdown earlier in the game and a second one robbed out of him, which was unfortunate.
Look for Austin Seferian-Jenkins to probably be the feature guy catching the ball, not just from the line, but he might even be used as another receiver because he has that type of athletic ability.
But Todd Bowles, his lack of energy whatsoever, or of animation. As a coach, you want to see your coach at least has some level of being upset and being irate a little. He was just very stoic. It seemed.
Well, you can't really change a guy for who he is. It just so happens that Todd Bowles is a very mild-mannered, very quiet guy, but some people deal with anger in certain situations. Some save it for the media, some save it for the locker room, some don't show any type of emotion at all. That just so happens to be who he is.
It's just, but sometimes you wish that he wouldn't say, oh, it was just bad playing. No, it was a BS call that screwed you out of the victory. That's what hurts you. That's how we, the fans, or people watching this game feel. But he feels differently. They lost 24-17. Pats control the AFCs for the moment. Let's see how this turns out.
There's still another meeting between those two down the road.
Definitely. And talk about a meeting on Sunday night. The Giants go to Mile High Stadium, which is Eli's brother's stadium. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Peyton, honestly,
Peyton was at the game because from what I heard, Peyton Manning still has a home in Denver, and 2,
his brother was playing.
Yeah, his brother was playing, and 3, he still has a connection to the Broncos, even in retirement. But what was the story of this game? 2 things. 1, the Giants' defense played well. Why did they play well? Because they forced 3 turnovers from Trevor Siemian.
4 sacks.
3 of which sacked him 4 times, and
3 of which from JPP.
And a 4th big point that hasn't even been mentioned: Orleans Darkwa had a 100-plus yard rushing game. And how about that offensive line? The same offensive line which did nothing for 5 games wound up paving some holes for Orleans Darkwa to run through, including this really, really great trap play that DJ Fluker, the much maligned DJ Fluker, wound up making for Orleans Darkwa en route to a 60 to 70 plus yard run that wound up setting up one of their field goals.
47 yards he ran up.
47 yards right up the middle.
In the second quarter. And how about the 5-yard TD pass to Evan Ingram that made it 10-0? Evan Ingram now with the for the rest of the year, ODB is gone for the year. Brandon Marshall's gone for the year. Dwayne Harris gone for the year. Sterling Shepard may not even return for a few more weeks. So Evan Ingram is going to get a big share of the responsibility. The Giants won 23-10. Let's go into some of the action for the coming week. Lions are off this week. Texans off this week. Chiefs trying to Chiefs, Raiders, Thursday night.
The Lions and the Chiefs are going to be licking their wounds.
The Chiefs and the Raiders are going to be licking their wounds Thursday night, but I'm going with the Chiefs to win this one. Got Seahawks, Giants in the neighborhood. Give me the Seahawks despite the late time and all that, but I think the defense is going to turn around this game to go against.
I told you before, the Giants are dreadful against scrambling quarterbacks. And this is going to play right into Russell Wilson's hands. It would be a huge upset if the Giants were to come away with this victory. At the same time, the Seahawks offense is 3 times better than the Giants offense is. I like Seattle in this one all the way.
Jets visiting the Dolphins. They played each other weeks ago. Dolphins were inept and terrible. Didn't score till the very end. This time around, they've had 2 victories by the skin of their teeth. The Jets lost their first game after 3 weeks.
Dare I say trap game? Jets coming off a disappointing loss. Dolphins coming off a really crucial victory. Now they're going to be at home against a division rival that is going to be really, really angry for getting a victory stolen from them. Dare I say the Jets win this one?
If you want to dare.
I'll leave it at that.
I'm going to go with the Jets, too. I think they're going to overcome some of their mistakes. Yes, they're going against Jay Jai, who had 130 yards, but I think they'll adjust for their rushing defense and look out for some of the matchups, especially the safeties going after Landry and the receivers. So, yeah, Jets. Falcons, Patriots, the rematch, Super Bowl 51. It was a 34-28 overtime victory for the Patriots in the first ever overtime Super Bowl history, including the touchdown to James White. Now, this time around,
how much you want to bet that there are going to be some fans in the seats holding up 28-3 signs all throughout the game?
Oh, there's going to be many fans saying 34-28, 34-28 at Gillette Stadium, and you know
that was the score that the Falcons were leading by when the Patriots were making their comeback.
I'll be honest though. The Patriots, they're playing at home against a team that's prone to make bad plays, especially Matt Ryan. If he wants to win, he's got to cut down on the mistakes. And other than that, though, I don't see the Patriots losing, especially at home this week. So I'm going with the Pats. What about you?
It's got to be the Patriots in this one. After last season, it's painfully obvious that the Falcons not necessarily have a hangover, but might be feeling the effects of blowing a big lead against the Dolphins the previous week.
AFC North rivalry, Bengals visiting the Steelers. Bengals coming off a bye week. The Steelers, huge victory in Kansas City. Apparently, they have Kansas City's number. Will they have Cincinnati's number?
Yes, they will, because Ben Roethlisberger dominates when he plays in his home state of Ohio.
No, he's playing at home.
Oh, he is playing at home. Steelers and Bengals at Heinz Field?
Yeah.
I still say the Steelers in this one. Ben Roethlisberger dominates his home state teams.
Yeah, I got to go with the Steelers, too. Look at the array of receivers they have. Look for Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he's going to have a 2-touchdown performance against.
Well, Juju's going to be on that beat in this game.
Without a doubt. Now, Smith, the Redskins, Eagles, NFC East. I like this rivalry always, but you got to go with the Eagles. They're just on such a roll, especially at the link. Carson Wentz is having a season unlike, with him and Smith and some of the other quarterbacks, he's really having a great season. He's going to have another great performance. Look for him to score 4 touchdowns in this game against that Redskins D, who barely won.
I would not count the Redskins out, though. The Redskins have played some of their best games in Philadelphia. This could be no exception here. If the Redskins want to win, they've got to cut down on the mistakes that they made against the 49ers. And considering the fact that it's one of their oldest rivals, dare I say the Redskins come away with a big victory on the road against a hated division rival?
I think you dare.
We'll see.
NFC West.
Rams and Cardinals in London. I don't know why.
It's
but
at Twickenham.
At least the Rams will be able to draw a pretty decent crowd in London as opposed to the LA Memorial Coliseum, where they continue to have problems drawing flies.
I'm going with the Cardinals to win this game. I'm sorry, but the debut of Adrian Peterson on the ground, they're going to see plenty more of him in this performance. They're going to probably load the box, but I think still, even with that, he's going to get some good runs off. and you're going to see Larry Fitzgerald be the benefactor as well as John Brown. I'm going with the Cards to win that game.
The Rams are going to be real trouble for the Cardinals simply because of their defense. Adrian Peterson is not going to be going up against the Buccaneers, who are vulnerable defensively. They're going to be going up against a Rams team, which is really, really tough against opposing running games. Dare I say Arizona takes this one? No. I still like the Rams in this one.
Panthers visiting the Bears in Soldier Field in Chicago.
Two struggling teams in this one. The only difference is Cam Newton is the better quarterback, and that's why I'm picking the Panthers in this one, because they're just better at QB.
Oh, that's where I'm going against you on this one. I'm going with the Chi-Town Bears this week. Look for a lot of Tarek Cohen and Jordan Howard to make some trick plays. And Trubisky, I think we're going to see that defense as well is going to key in on Cam Newton for sure. They're going to create a lot of pressure because they are a physical style defense. So expect a lot of zone in this game for sure to really get them off keel. I like the Bears to progress in this one. Now, Buccaneers, Bears, Bills. Buccaneers, Bills. I got the Bills winning this one. They're coming off their bye week. They had a terrible. They had a good performance in the game before the bye week against Atlanta. I like the Bills to come back at home and win against.
Will the real Buffalo Bills please stand up? Which Bills team is gonna show up against Tampa? The Bills team that wound up coming away with big wins against teams like the Jets and the Falcons, or the Bills team that stubbed their toe against the Bengals?
I think we're going to see the Bills team that beat the Falcons and limit passing touchdowns. And the fact that Fitzpatrick is playing, and Fitz knows this team. That's the thing. Going up against the team that basically where he played for a good part of his career.
Played 4 years of his NFL career in Buffalo, and each year was one dreadful season after another. Wound up getting an unearned contract when he was in Buffalo. A complete and utter flop as a player in this game.
And not only that, remember 2015, the final game that season when he had a chance to take his team over to the playoffs. He had a terrible game against the Bills, and he had some bad interceptions. This time, there could be some redemption, but I'm still going with the Bills. Now, Saints-Packers. The post-Aaron Rodgers era is about to really get underway, unfortunately, for the Packers, and that's why I'm going with Breeze and the Saints.
This is the game that the Saints should win, but I'm curious to know who's going to be the starting quarterback in this game. Is it going to be Brett Hundley,
Definitely.
or is it going to be somebody else? Because if it's Brett Hundley, a guy who some people are pretty high on, then it could be trouble, because look who he's going to be going up against on the other side of the ball. It's Drew Brees, a record-setting guy who's one step away from the Hall of Fame. This has all Saints written all over it.
And look at the massive injuries to deal in that off. David Bakhtiari is still hurt with that hamstring injury, so the O-line's not going to be able to protect Hundley as well as he needs to. You're going to see him probably scramble a lot out of the pocket, not be able to make good plays. So that's why I'm going with the Saints. I think the defense is going to have a field day. Now, Jaguars, Colts, AFC South rivalry matchup right here. The Colts have always, for the most part, have their way against the Jaguars. I know it's an odd week, and usually in odd weeks, Jaguars win. Well, I think the trend will end this coming week. I'm looking for the Colts at Indianapolis to take care of the Jaguars, including we're going to see plenty of Marlon Mack running all over that defense. Give me the Colts.
Give me the Jaguars in this one. Leonard Fournette is just outstanding, and that's going to be the reason why they win this game. And keep in mind, the Colts defense is still vulnerable.
Wow, that's the first time I ever heard you pick the Jaguars. This is a miracle.
Stranger things.
Miracles do happen on the show.
So do some stranger things.
That's true. Cowboys, 49ers. This is a long time rivalry going back many years, and now
this used to be one of the most famous rivalries, not just in the NFL, but in all of sports. There were Hall of Fame players that passed through this game. Now, this is just an easy victory for the Cowboys.
Yes.
There, I said it.
Yeah, they're going against a winless squad that's 0-6. I feel for Carlos Hyde. He's really the best offensive player on that team, and they're going to probably go to C.J. Beathard to be the starter this coming week, and he has no idea. But you know what? That Cowboys defense can be vulnerable too, and they have really messed up on games where they've had clear leads and have not put the pedal to the metal in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to win, they can't make the same mistakes they've done the last 2 weeks against the Rams and the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to really have to play all the way, and we don't know what's going on with Zeke if he's even going to be able to play. So Alfred Morris may be the starter or not. It depends on the situation with Zeke's lawyers, if they're able to get another injunction. So stay tuned for that. But I'm actually going to go with the Cowboys, of course. Now, Broncos, Chargers, AFC South rivalry matchup right here. To me, this...
Look out for San Diego. 2 in a row.
You said San Diego? You mean L.A.?
I'm going to keep on calling them San Diego. In my eyes, they're not the Los Angeles Chargers. They're the San Diego Chargers, in spite of the fact that they play at the StubHub Center in Carson, California.
You know what? I actually did say San Diego myself. I know. And even a referee in one game called them San Diego. That's just crazy because you know they've been there for over 40 years in San Diego. Now that they're in LA, it's kind of a joke. The StubHub Center is not a place to play football. It's a soccer stadium, for goodness sake.
And to add to that running joke that Jimmy Kimmel has about the Chargers, at the end of that little skit, the slogan was, "We miss you, San Diego. We effed up really bad."
And I think they did mess up San Diego by letting them go. And they'll realize it, not now, not tomorrow, but down the line, they're going to realize they let the golden goose go. Now, as for the game itself, I like C.J. Anderson. I like the Broncos to regroup from their miserable loss to the Giants. So I'm looking for them to beat this Chargers team that barely won yesterday, that barely won on Sunday. Now, Ravens, Vikings. This right here to me.
That's a really interesting matchup right there because you've got a Ravens team that's been so inconsistent this year and so really bad defensively. That's one thing. On the flip side, you've got a Vikings team that suddenly is finding new life with, of all people, Case Keenum as their quarterback. Could it be that maybe he just needed to find a system that suited his skill set in order for him to succeed as an NFL quarterback?
I think that could be the case.
Because he couldn't cut it with his hometown team, the Texans. He sure as hell couldn't cut it with the other teams that he's been with.
I think right now the situation is working out for him. Adam Thielen and him are having a really good working relationship together as quarterback and wide receiver. And with the unfortunate absence of Dalvin Cook for the rest of the season with that torn ACL, now Jerick McKinnon is really becoming the go-to player on both the running game and also as a pass-catching receiver out of the backfield. So you got a lot of good options. Stephon Diggs unfortunately didn't play this past Sunday. Hopefully he'll be able to play, maybe a game-time decision. But at the end of the day, that defense is going to be the reason why they win. They're going to go heavy, hard, and they're going to basically they're going to knock around Flacco a few times. I feel bad for Flacco because that offensive line, ever since Marshall Yanda went down with the injury back in London, weeks ago, even before London, they still have been vulnerable. And that's why, and without Brashad Perriman, and without Jeremy Maclin too, I can't see the Ravens winning. I'm going Vikings at home. Now, Titans, Browns.
Titans.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. And
actually, the rest of this season should be Browns versus fill in the blank, and the winner of that particular game is going to be fill in the blank.
I know. And remember the last time they played this one game where the Browns, I think, or the Titans had I think it was the Browns had like a 25-point comeback years ago. But yes, this Browns team is not going to do that. They are still going to compete in the race to the bottom with the 49ers.
Seriously, I feel so bad for the fans in Cleveland who have been subjected to such incompetence and such embarrassment and such humiliation and such insult.
28 quarterbacks in their graveyard since they came back in 99.
And how many head coaches along the way? Too many to even count.
They changed more quarterbacks than they changed draws. That's just nuts. And then offensive coordinators, I think they've had like 5 in as many years, and defensive coordinators they've had to switch up.
You know what? Maybe we should do an entire story or an entire show, one whole hour, about what happened to the Browns since they first made their way into the professional scene, not just coming back to the league, going back to the old All-American Conference.
We should do like a separate, definitely a separate show, like a special Blitz Zone, but not part of like our Friday, but definitely like somewhere where we can document teams where they rise, where they fell, especially this Browns team. That remember in the 80s with the cardiac kids, and now to see them beset by all these iniquities and these setbacks and these injuries and the incompetence in the front office. As for the Tennessee Titans, the fact that Marcus Mariota unfortunately was injured, let's hope that he's able to come back. But even if it's Matt Castle, honestly, even Matt Castle, I think, can win this game. But it's going to be plenty of DeMarco Murray. You're going to see him run the ball all over the Titans, all over the Browns. Yeah, Titans all the way. Now, college football, we got a big matchup. Michigan, Penn State.
Yeah.
Huge.
Probably the best game of the entire weekend right there. And Michigan, they're really going to have to be on their toes, especially considering they really had their problems with Indiana last weekend, going overtime against a team that, quite frankly, they should have defeated.
I couldn't believe this past week where we saw 3 teams in the top 10 lose, including Clemson at the Carrier Dome on Friday, 27-24 on the game-winning field goal. And
don't kid yourself. Dino Babers has done a really good job with that Syracuse squad. And what about the play of the quarterback, the young quarterback that the Orange have?
Eric Dungy. If that name is familiar to you, that's the son of Tony Dungy, right?
See, I told you, football, the apple does not fall far from the tree. And in the case of Eric Dungy, who wound up learning the game from a brilliant guy like Tony Dungy, Syracuse is going to be in really good hands. Don't be surprised to see them reach 6 wins and be bowl eligible this year. You know who else has been a major surprise? Iowa State. What about the win that they got in Norman against Oklahoma? People thought that they would let down against Kansas. You forgot. It was Kansas they were playing. They wound up winning 45-0. They're 2 wins away from being bowl eligible.
And how about the UCF Knights and the South Florida Bulls fighting for first in that East Division in the All-American Conference? And then North Carolina State, the Wolfpack, are in control of their own destiny in the Atlantic Division of the ACC. So there are a lot of really good storylines this year. And TCU is now number 4 in the nation. They got a good matchup coming up this week. I think they're going to take the Big 12. I think they're going to really take the Big 12 and make the Big 12. They'll be the first Big 12 team in the playoffs.
Well, let's see what their schedule holds for the last half of the season, because that Big 12, you could say there's a lot of parity, but at the same time, there are a lot of really good teams in that conference. You've got Texas, which has had a really surprising season, but lost in the Red River Shootout. You also have Texas Christian, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State has been really good this season.
Mason Rudolph, great quarterback this year.
Mason Rudolph has been terrific.
It's just unbelievable.
Kansas State has surprised some people this year. West Virginia, although they had a really disappointing loss last weekend, they have been very good. The Big 12's got some real good teams, except for maybe 2 or 3.
And Ohio State is slowly getting back, after their loss to Oklahoma. So things are, and the fact that it's week 8 in college football, that's just crazy. I'm looking forward to the Jets game. I can't wait to see what they do in Miami. They really got to be on their toes against Jay Ajayi for sure.
Yeah.
Because he's run roughshod all over them in some games. And as for the Giants this coming week against Seattle, look out for what Russell Wilson does, especially with Paul Richardson. That could be something to keep an eye out. This week we'll see the return of DRC. Please, DRC, don't argue with your coach. Don't be arbitrary. Just do your job.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to tell you what to do. But anyway, Jamie, thank you so much, as always, for doing this.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you, the audience, as always, for tuning in every week to see the Blitz Zone. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Blitz Zone here on CTV. Good night. Love you, Staten Island. Peace and all. Love.